Hey everybody, welcome to the Magi Show. I'm your host Leland Judson, and today I got a pretty wild show topic. In case anyone is wondering what these symbols are up here, this is actually an ancient offering table, and it's one of the things that I really like to research, just because when I was up north I managed to find one, and ever since then I've been trying to collect as much information about it, try to solve what it is. And today I had a really major breakthrough, so I figured even though I'm super tired and I was actually up really late last night and was doing a live radio show down at the radio station, 98.5 FM CKWR. Every Tuesday I do a live show there, and it's a real radio like terrestrial. It's broadcast to over a million people in the surrounding cities, so I work a regular day job the next day after, so I usually only get a couple hours sleep in between, but today's breakthrough was so big, I was like, man, I really need to start telling people about this now. I don't know, maybe I'll do another video tomorrow if this one doesn't turn out too well, but we'll see how it goes. Alright, so I figured maybe I'll do a little bit of a background on the information about how I got to this point about researching offering tables. I know it sounds like a really weird topic to most people. They're like, what the heck is an offering table? It's like, really, in today's age, no one uses offering tables anymore as far as I know, so it's a pretty ancient thing and it's not really too common. But maybe after I do some more work on it and presentations, people will be talking about it a lot more. I have a feeling they will be, because going up north in a few weeks, actually not even a few weeks, less than I think, what is it, on the 27th, today's the 18th, so yeah, 9 days away and I'll be leaving to go back up north. And when I'm up north, I'm going to be doing some research on these offering tables again, and filming a drone video. And on that drone video, I'm hoping it gets the attention of a lot of people, because really, I've been doing radio shows, writing blogs, spreading stuff on the internet, and it's difficult to get anyone's attention about this kind of subject. Like, usually most of my blog posts and stuff get a couple hundred likes or whatever, but I don't know, it's nowhere close to going viral, that's for sure. Compared to like a cat video, it's getting millions of hits and likes and stuff, and it's a little bit discouraging that this type of information isn't that popular, but really, I guess I shouldn't expect it to be that popular. Most things that are that popular, I don't know, they're just more entertainment, I guess, instead of, this isn't really so much in the way of entertainment, but I guess educational material as well. Yeah, sorry, my headphones just came out there. I gotta adjust them a little better. Yeah, there we go. Alright, so maybe I'll put a bit of music on for the slides too. Sorry, I'll have to adjust the volume here. Yeah, 60% looks pretty good. So I guess I'll begin with the slides. How I got involved in all this research was originally I encountered some light beings. I know that sounds really weird to people. How the hell did you encounter light beings? Well, when I was a kid, me and my friend Denny, we'd just like to sneak out of the house and work on different stuff outside. Like, at the time when we were kids, we were really big into tree forts and stuff. Well, actually our fort wasn't even in a tree, it was on the ground, but same basic principle as kids' fort. And we would sneak out of the house late at night so we could work on it and get it prepared for the next day, because we always had battles with other kids in the neighborhood, and if we tried working on it during the day, we'd usually get attacked and rocks thrown at us and apples. So working at it at night seemed like a much better idea, because the chances of the other neighborhood kids coming out at 2 in the morning was really slim. Even though I guess sometimes they did and stole our stuff from the fort, but hey, what could you do when you're kids, right? We didn't have the internet and weren't even allowed to watch TV or play video games, so we did what we could to stay busy. And to be honest, I found it a lot more fun than video games, but hey, to each their own. Kids like that these days. So anyways, I guess I'll get on with the slides here. So we were outside sneaking out of the house at around, I don't know, 1 in the morning or so, and we encountered these light beings. And this isn't an exact picture of the light beings, obviously, this is just an animation, but if you want to see more closely what they look like, I recommend watching the movie Knowing. And at the end of the movie, not to spoiler alert, but light beings come out at the end, and they looked identical to that movie, so heck, if you want to see what they look like, you don't even have to take my word or my description of what they look like. You can just watch that movie and see exactly what they looked like. I don't know, this music seems like it's a little bit loud, so maybe I'll turn it down to 50. 53. Yeah, hopefully that isn't so bad. Alright, so basically when I snuck out of the house and saw these light beings, it wasn't really a fun experience. A lot of people asked me like, hey, well, how great was it to see the light beings? Wasn't it like the most fun thing ever? And it's like, well, when we first seen them, it was like it triggered a paralyzing fear type sensation, so I don't know if people like being paralyzed with fear, but if you do, maybe then you'd like to see the light beings then. But I actually got really bad chest pains that night too. It was like, when you're that afraid of something, it almost feels like you're gonna die, right? So you can almost call seeing them like a near-death experience. I know when I researched them, I found out a lot of people who are in hospitals and terminal conditions, they usually have visitations by these light beings too, so I don't know if they're angels or what they are, but I guess maybe I'll get into the coolest part of the history I found of the light beings. I'll bring up a website here. Alright, sorry, just had to fix the music there. I'll get back to getting the information on the light beings here for you. Where did I put the Google window? Sorry folks, I'm just getting used to doing these live streams. Maybe I'll put a message here in the chat. If anyone's watching and wants to join in the chat, I've got a live one going. See if I can see if you have any viewers. Yeah, there is one person watching. Hey, thanks for watching. If you want to talk, here I'll just type in here. Hey everybody. If you want to ask questions as I go, sorry I got a little bit of a delay between the live show and when I actually see the questions posted up here. But it's not too bad, it's only a few seconds, so bear with me, I guess. Alright, so you guys have probably not heard of the Zoroastrians. They're basically an ancient religion going back to like Persian time period, like the Persian Empire or whatever. And they're actually still going today, but they have a name for the light beings that I really like. They call them the Amesha Spenta, I believe it is. See if that brings it up. Yeah, so basically what they called these light beings was the great... here, let me zoom in a bit. This is a little bit on the small side here. Alright, that's looking a little better, yeah? Check the chat maybe and see if anyone's saying it looks better. No comments. It's okay, you don't have to comment if you want to just sit back and watch. I guess I can just talk to myself here. Would be nice if people chatted, but hey, what can you do, right? Alright, so these light beings are called the Great Divine Sparks, and basically their purpose or whatever was to carry out the deeds of the Great Creator, God, or whatever you want to call them. They sort of like caretakers or men in black, or maybe another good way to describe them. Basically entities that are going to try to control the way the universe plays out so that it matches to what the creator's plan is. I often think about it as like a computer reference would be if you had some sort of algorithm to make sure that your program ran smoothly. I don't know, I guess maybe that's not a good way to describe it, but yeah, so there's a book that talks about the light beings that the Zoroastrians have, and they call it the Avesta. The funny thing about the Avesta is if you ask Zoroastrians if you can see the complete copy of this book, they'll tell you that it was lost in history. But the weirdest part of that is if you look into the ancient Celtic and pagan history, it's exactly the same as what's written in the Avesta. So, and they have like it traced all the way back to who wrote it, and they didn't lose any of the books. So it's kind of strange, like the Zoroastrians actually believed that the Avesta was lost. I don't know. To me, it looks a little bit suspicious when another culture has the complete copy of the book and it's not lost. So, I don't know. I guess that's still a debate. Maybe if some Zoroastrians want to message in and talk to me about it. Like, I've talked to a few of the magi or priests of the Zoroastrians about it, and some of them are really cool, and they're like, oh wow, it's like you're asking questions about this stuff that they haven't heard in their like decades of being a priest or whatever. But I don't know, sometimes they get a little upset when they hear me say that I've seen the Amesha Spenta before. I guess it's not really too common even in their religion for people to see them. And really, I haven't spoken to too many other people that have. Well, not in real life, but on Facebook I met a few people who swear they've seen them, and I've got a few things that the light being showed me that I can ask other people about, and if it doesn't match, then well, I'm pretty sure that maybe they're not being truthful about seeing them. So I try not to give out all my details about what I seen. But if you want to message me and ask me about it, I'm not going to hold back. Try not to do anything in secret, really. It's not a good thing to get a habit of doing. So anyways, I guess I should move on from the light beings, because I could do a whole show just about them. Well, anyways, after I encountered the light beings, they gave me this coin. And this was when I was about in between 9 and 10 years old. Basically the stage between going from a little kid to like a, I guess, preteen or more close to an adult. So it's a long time ago for me. Like I'm 37 right now. Yeah, that's correct, 2017. So it'd be about 30 years ago or so, or I guess 28, 29, something like that. So I kept this coin all these years, and I tried to research what the symbols meant on them. And at first I was researching this guy. I was thinking maybe it was this Aztec leader on this coin. I have to go back into my notes. It's not Montezuma, or there's a couple other guys that look really similar to him. But all those leads I took ended up into dead ends. And I almost gave up researching this coin because I never thought I was going to figure out what it meant and why the light beings gave it to me. But then I sort of hit the jackpot when I found out it was the other side of the coin that I should have been researching. It was this image of a bird. Excuse me. It was an image of a bird, and he's eating a snake or holding onto a snake, and he's sitting on a cactus, and it's called the Mexico's coat of arms. So this coat of arms turns out is an ancient pagan symbol, or I guess you could call it ancient Aztec symbol, and it was based on the legend of how the greatest city in South America was founded. And well, I guess I'll get onto that a little bit later. But so, anyways, they gave me this coin, and I started trying to research what it meant. And hitting the jackpot really was this cactus symbol with the bird. So I got a job at one point working for an occult organization called Adept Initiates, and what they do is they write about, or they have different websites and stuff and videos and everything about the occult stuff from Egypt, South America, pretty much anywhere around the world. So I was writing blogs for them for a while and started digging deeper into this symbol of here it is here, that was on the coin. And I started to find out that a lot of the different pagan cultures, like you can see, this is from basically all over the world. I have the medicine wheel from the First Nations people here as an example, showing that each group of people had their own version of the sacred tree. Like people in Africa had one, in America, in Europe, in Asia, in India. People get really upset sometimes when they see me put the Sumerian image as under Europe. But it's, I don't know, as upset as you want to get about it, it's like the ancient history of European people I think exists. And a lot of people's argument to it is that ancient Europeans don't have a history, that they just like appeared and apparently in recent times, and all of the other races are way older than them, can't possibly be in ancient Europe. But I don't know, the more I dug deeper into that, I found out about the Aryans, and how their history is like shrouded in secrecy because of what happened in World War II, and we're not supposed to research it because that's what Hitler was doing. It's like, well, Hitler could have been researching algebra, and we just didn't throw out all the mathematics and the garbage because he was doing that. So I'm not really too sure why we did that with the ancient Aryan history. So I guess it's because a lot of the old occultists used to talk about saying that the Aryans were superior in some way, and it's like, I kind of look at the First Nations medicine wheel that each different group of people actually was, I guess, really good at some things, not so good at others, and it's like each one of them had their own part on Earth to like maintain a balance sort of thing, so everything stayed level. So we had to work together. Like some groups of people are going to be really good at some things and some aren't. And it's not saying that the other groups of people couldn't do it, but it was just like a more natural thing for their group to do. So I don't know a lot of the research I've been doing lately shows that the first Sumerians were actually Adam and Eve. I don't know, a lot of people are going to be all upset because they're not into researching the Bible, but for me, the Bible went in stages. It's like I used to think it was cool, or not cool, it was like just I grew it up with in my family thinking it was true, and then at one stage I started to grow up and I was like, oh, the Bible, it's so many fairy tales and none of it could be true. So I went on to that stage, and then as I got older I realized that when I started looking up a lot of the ancient text stuff from other cultures and other places around the world, it was collaborating what the Bible was saying. So I was like, hey, maybe there is a little bit truth to this Bible after all. And then dig even deeper, and it's like, man, it's like the Bible's loaded with truth. It's like I don't know how I ever came to the conclusion that it was fake. I guess you just hear a lot of kids saying that it's fake, and you're like, oh, it must be fake, because I've heard like 10, 20 people say that, and I always say once you hear a certain amount of people say something, you just start to believe it. Alright, well, I guess I should move on a little bit here. Yeah, so basically what happened was I had the general idea of what I was looking for now with the sacred trees. I was like, hey, it's like this coin was telling me to go look for sacred trees, and it was at the end of 2012, around December, yeah, it was December 21st of 2012 that basically my life changed, and I watched a show called America on Earth by Scott Walter. Highly recommend watching his shows. They had him on History Channel. I don't know if they still play him on History Channel or not, but yeah, it's an amazing show, and he was talking about the winged disc symbol right here being carried by the Phoenicians, and he had a theory that they were actually in America at one point. So I went to the museum in Toronto and found out that Sumerian tablets were loaded with these winged disc symbols too, and even the guys I talked to at the museum that worked there are like, oh yeah, there's officially no connection between the Sumerian's winged disc and what is it, the Zoroastrian one that I was talking about earlier with the Amesha Spenta. But then even the curator or the guy working at the museum was just like, hey, it's like unofficially, it's like there's no doubt that this is the same symbol. If you look at this winged disc, he's holding the ring of the Zoroastrians and everything. So yeah, here it is if you want to see it. This is the Zoroastrian version. Sorry I can't zoom in on it, but maybe next time I'll have that slide ready. So that's basically what this symbol is here, and it's also considered the secret meaning to Freemasonry. And I'll show you a book that I got put aside here. Here it shows like, this is an Albert Pike book, and he basically wrote in this book that Ahura Mazda, this symbol here, whoops, the symbol there, yeah, oh, going into the Magi City, that's Ahura Mazda. So he was basically saying that researching the history of the ancient Aryans was going to give you the clues to solving everything that Freemasonry researches. Yeah, it's a pretty wild book, and they even got a lot of stuff in here about the light beings. I thought that was really cool. I think that's one of the first things that turned me on to reading this book. I was like, hey, yeah, I guess, like, yeah, that's how it was. It's like I was reading about the light beings, and I typed it in, and I started reading some of the stuff about light beings from this book. I'm like, hey, who wrote this? And it turned out it was Albert Pike, and then later I found out he was writing the secrets of Freemasonry. So I was like, a lot of people are debating whether or not Albert Pike was really, like, knew what he was talking about when it came to all the stuff that he wrote about, but I think it's pretty obvious that he did. In Washington, D.C., they have a spot where like I'm sure a lot of people in conspiracies have seen that the layout is set up like a pentagram with the White House and all the different things aligning to make it. And it turned out that there's a pyramid that goes around that pentagon, and then the inside of the eye of the pyramid is where they have the Freemason Capitol building. It's like this giant mausoleum that's built as a copy of one of the great wonders of the ancient world. And it was popular, well, I guess the original one was from the Achaemenian Empire. Probably saying that wrong. Never really heard anyone say it out loud before, but yeah, so from that empire, they had that huge building. And yeah, it was funny, that empire used to have their religion was the Zoroastrian one with the winged disc, so there was another connection to that there. Well, anyway, so Albert Pike's buried in there, so I'm pretty sure that's the proof right there that Albert Pike really did know what he was talking about. And the Freemasons wouldn't have put him in the Capitol building of their highest spot, or his tomb there, if he wasn't, right? Unless it was like a giant distraction, but that'd be a pretty elaborate distraction, I think, to go that far. So anyways, when I was looking at these versions of the sacred tree, I noticed one in India had a split pillar, and that Freemasonry always has those two pillars. What is it, Boaz and whatever the name of the other one is. I'll have to look that up. Maybe I'll get it for next time. But so I had an idea. It's like I'm going to go travel up north because I seen that video from Scott Walter talking about how the Phoenicians were all over America at one point in ancient times, and they had the winged disc. So I'm like, hey, maybe I can go up north and find some evidence of the Phoenicians, and maybe that's how I'll solve what this clue, that key or coin was given to me to try to figure out one day, right? And so yeah, I guess to go from there is I went up north, and it was kind of weird how it worked. It's like I got really frustrated trying to buy property. I couldn't afford any, and I was like getting to the point of giving up, and I prayed that night, and I'm like, hey God, it's like this ain't going so well. It's like, can you help me get some property to like point me in the right direction of what I'm supposed to do? And then I woke up the next day and this river property was for sale. Excuse me, and it was the exact same price as what my price range was, and it's like this really, really nice property. I couldn't believe that it was for sale and that it was within my price range. So I was like, okay, maybe this is a sign I'm gonna buy this property. And people are laughing at me like, oh, you're going to buy a property way up north and you haven't even been to it before or seen it. You're just going to go out and buy it? Like, what kind of disaster is that setting up for? Sorry, sometimes I laugh as a stress release. And it's not really the ideal time to be laughing about that, but I guess that's how I roll. Anyway, so I bought this property, and one of the symbol or signs, I guess, is I always dream the future. I know people laugh when you say that you can dream the future, but for me, it's like it's been a part of my life. And I guess my grandma was able to dream the future too. And when she used to live in Ukraine, she was well known as like a dream psychic. So maybe it's a gift that I inherited or got passed down, or maybe something even from the light beings wore off on me, but I can pretty much dream the future. And I kept dreaming about this place with a river, and when I seen the pictures of the property for sale, I'm like, holy crap, man, that's the river I keep seeing in my dreams. So I'm like, alright, let's do it. Jump in the water head first and buy the property, and off I went up north. Yeah, and if anyone wants to hear more about that journey and how that went, I've got another video in my YouTube archives, and you can just check that out. I think it's under the Ancient Discovery section. So I did some work on the property, and I was going to try to build a cabin there, and it didn't go well. Tried to do some gold panning there because the gold is actually really common in that area. They've got tons of gold mines everywhere. But the closest thing I got to gold was some fool's gold, and so I decided, hey, I'm not really digging this property too well, and since the building there wasn't going well, I'm like, I'm going to start searching some of the mountains around the area and see if I can solve what this coin was given to me before. And then I came to this mountain nearby called Mount Kemenus. I was like, man, just from a distance you could see that Mount Kemenus has a split right up the middle, and it sort of almost looks like two pillars. Like if you picture that as a pillar and then the other side as a pillar. I guess it's a bit of a stretch, but I was comparing it back to this image, and I was like, we got the two splits, and let's go check this mountain out, right? It's like I even looked it up on Google, and you can see it from satellite images, so it's not like a small mountain or anything. It's one of the biggest in the area. I think elevation wise it's like really close to the highest point, well, from sea level anyways, in Canada. And then yeah, here I've got the Freemason symbol on the side, shows the two pillars, and I thought there was a bit of a connection there. Yeah, a couple years later too, someone showed me some Freemason artwork, and it turned out that the Freemason artwork was actually really close to what this looked like. You can see the road kind of goes off to where a cave is. They got a road here going off to a cave. And on the long way up to this road, there's a few rivers that go across. One of them is called Bear Creek. And yeah, you can see they got rivers in this picture. And there's like a biblical type ship that the Freemasons drew in the background. And it turns out that there's a lake and a river near this mountain and behind the same area that goes all the way to the Ottawa River and then down to the St. Lawrence and to the ocean. So there was a chance that the ancient times people could have came from the biblical areas like the Holy Land and took a boat right to get here. They didn't have to walk any of the way. And I was pretty surprised at that because this is like a good like 8-hour drive from Toronto or so to get up here. It's like in the middle of nowhere, so I was really surprised that you could just take a boat to get here. So it was neat how that worked out. And yeah, if anyone wants to watch a video, I found out that this is actually the likely location of where King Solomon's gold mine is. And I did a whole video talking about that, so I won't get into it here. Just go into the archives if you want to check that out. Yeah, so this is me, or my campsite up on top of the mountain. It's like if you ever go camping there, it's going to be tough to find a nicer spot to camp. It's like, I think it was pretty much like the most wild spot I've ever camped. Yeah, here you can see I made it up there and I had my Hura Mazda or the Farvar shirt on. And I was on a quest to find an offering table. And I really wish I would have wrote down why I was looking for an offering table. Like, it's been quite a few years ago now. Like, I think it was 2013 that I was there. So that's what, good 4 years, almost 5 years. So now I'm thinking back to, it's like, why was I looking for an offering table before I even found one? I was like, I guess it's maybe those ancient Sumerian pictures. I kept seeing that handbag they were carrying. It's like if you look here, there's one of those handbags. And in the slides at the beginning of my show, there's one there too, or a few of them. The Anunnaki used to carry them a lot. And my theory was that those bags were being poured into something. And I've seen some researchers showing offering tables. Well, one of my friends, JJ, was calling it a libation table. I guess it's part of the research. A lot of people called them that. But I was thinking right off the bat that it was an offering table. And what my plan was to get a jug of water that looked similar shape to what the Anunnaki were using, like the magic bag to pour it in. So I got that and I was like, man, I'm going to check over the whole top of this mountain and see if I can find an offering table to pour this into, fill it up, and take a video of it and show people and be like, hey, man, this is what I think the magic bags are used for. Yeah, and then lo and behold, when I searched the top of the mountain, I found this spot that looked like it was an offering table. And why I thought it looked like that is because it's like, as you go around the top of the mountain, there's different points that you could go to and have like a really nice lookout. And this was the most impressive lookout of the whole spot. And it was like facing the sunrise. So I'm like, if I was like going to set up an offering table, this is the identical spot that I would do it. And there's an offering table. I was like, okay, maybe this is what it is, right? And to be honest, when I was taking the pictures of this offering table, I thought I was going to share it online and people would just laugh and be like, oh, there's no way that's an offering table. But luckily, some Freemasons, well, actually, JJ messaged and showed me that there's ones in Egypt that are the exact same shape as this. So I was like, holy crap. So maybe I did find an offering table after all. And things just started exploding from there. It's like what I did is decided to fill the offering table like I was saying before. Yeah, here's the picture of the Sumerians, how they had it. And you don't really see the Sumerians using the bag, so it was hard to see, or the Anunnaki using them. So I came up with the theory that the reason they were filling these offering tables is that they were trying to tap into the Akashic Records or the universal internet. And my theory was that if you pour this liquids into the offering table, you can stargaze into the pool and see the stars that are in the sky, but all of a sudden stars are mirrored. And the reason that's important is because when you mirror a fiber optic signal in, like, say, computer networks, that's basically how they work. Is if you don't mirror the signal, you're not going to get a connection. But if you mirror it, boom, all of a sudden you're connected. So that was my theory. I'm like, hey, I'm going to test out the universal internet and write about blogs about it. And it was a reasonably popular blog, but I don't think anyone actually went to all the way up to the mountain and tested the theory out themselves, because when I did it, it changed my dreams dramatically. It's like I started dreaming constantly about a new place that I should go to, and it was an island, and I had to take a boat to get there, and eventually ended up selling my property and going to an island, and basically around the same way as, like, I had dreams, followed my dreams, bought new property, went there, and I'll do that as a whole nother show, talking about what happened when I got to this island and found out what was there, but that part in its own was really wild. Yeah, if anyone wants to see a show on that, just maybe leave a comment somewhere and send me a message and I'll get on it right away. Yeah, so this offering table too, when I was posting it online, I found out that there was one that matched it that really closely in Bulgaria. Now, at this point, I had never heard of Bulgaria before. Well, vaguely, I think maybe at the Olympics or something, but I had no idea where it was. It's like, I was thinking maybe somewhere near Russia or something. I guess not that far from Russia. Maybe they even share a border with it. Well, they share a border with Turkey, and they're close to the Mediterranean Sea also. I guess there's one little country that you have to go through to get to it, but it's not really that far from the Mediterranean. Basically, if you lived in the Holy Land, you said you were going up north, you were going to Bulgaria. That's where it was. And you could take a boat to get there on the Mediterranean. So it was pretty cool that I started comparing these two images together. Oh yeah, here's some more information about the city there. And the people that were using this other ancient offering table were the Thracians, because I'm saying that wrong. But they were really well known for their gold. And there is a lot of cool gold mines in Bulgaria, but none big enough to account for the amount of gold that they had. So there was always a theory that the Thracians had a secret gold mine that they were getting a lot of gold from. So I was like, huh. Maybe that's how I came up with the King Solomon's theory, was that the Thracians were coming to this spot in Canada and shipping the gold because they had the boats to do it. They had the river, and here was an offering table that matched exactly what theirs looked like. It was weird too when you start comparing these offering tables. Like, just like at first glance, they look kind of cool. They're both facing the sunrise, but zoom in a little bit further, you can see that there's roads in the background, and even the road patterns that are like in the exact same way. And then you see the town that's in the background. It's like even the town is in the same position. It's like, it's kind of really stunning, like how much is similar in these pictures. Yeah, my next trip when I go up in 9 days, I'm going to try to retake this photograph and get it so that it's a little bit after the sunset, so I don't have the glare from the sun still being there. It was weird because I took this picture, well, it's a still frame out of a video, without even seeing this one first. So if I had seen this one first, and I would have taken it a little bit better to have them look more alike. But even without knowing, it's like, man, they really came out similar. Oh yeah, and then before I move on, I should say that I started looking into, well, sharing this King Solomon's information on my job at the radio station. And one of the other hosts asked me, he's like, well, the Thracians were coming here and using it, or maybe King Solomon's gold. It's like, those are some really ancient peoples and biblical people, but he's like, were they really the first? He's like, could there have been someone sooner, even before that? I was like, you know, I should really look into that, because here we have these offering tables, and I was thinking, I was like, I think I've heard of ancient offering tables before, something from the Bible, and I was like, hey, I'll look it up. And then it turned out to be the story of, you know, Adam and Eve, how they had their first kids, Cain and Abel. Well, it turns out that those two guys fought over an offering that they were doing, and then Cain killed Abel. And when he did, he got banished to a really faraway place, and they called it Nod. I was like, oh, isn't that interesting? It's like, is it even possible that Cain could have got banished all the way to Canada here at this offering table? And he was using it because it was the same as what he was familiar with when he was using it in Bulgaria. Because, like, Bulgaria is close enough to the Holy Land that I don't think it's unreasonable to think that Cain and Abel could have walked even to Bulgaria if they were in the Holy Land. So I was like, man, I gotta check this out. And yeah, I'll get on to the next slide here. Yeah, here's the offerings that they were doing. Basically, the story behind it is they had offering tables that they were doing offerings at, and Abel decided to use burning flesh, like animals, and a sacrifice, and he was able to summon God. But Cain was doing something with plants at the offering table, is what we get from the Bible, and it didn't work as well as Abel's, so he was jealous and killed him over it. And later on in my research, I found out that what Cain was doing with the plants actually wasn't plants, it was mushrooms, I think. And he was using shamanic techniques to access like the other dimensions, like the entities, like the Anunnaki there. And I guess like seeing them in another altered state wasn't as cool to him as like actually seeing God appear in our realm, or the Anunnaki traveling here, instead of like vice versa. It's like we always hear about the shamans going to another realm, but it's pretty rare to have the other realm entities come here. So anyways, what happened was after he killed his brother, God cursed him by like outcasting him really far away to wander for a long time. And the other part of his curse was as soon as the blood touched the ground, he was no longer able to grow food anymore. Anytime he would plant seeds in the ground, like to be a farmer, all of a sudden his crops would just die. So God knew that I guess Cain was like his only child left, or one of the only ones left, and he didn't want him to die, even though he gave him that awful curse. So he gave him a gift, and that gift was the ability to build great cities out of stone. I was like, man, that's kind of funny that Adam and Eve are the first Sumerians, and the big mystery to Sumer is how did they get all this amazing technology so quick? It's like they just sprang up out of nowhere, everyone talks about. It's like, well, hello? It's like if they were the first, if Cain was a Sumerian and he got a curse on how to build cities, well, doesn't that explain it? It's like, I guess people just throw the Bible stories in the garbage and then everything becomes a mystery. It's like, oh, well, what happened? It's like, I don't know, maybe check the history you threw in the garbage and you might find out what happened, right? Yeah, but at the time I was like, yeah, there's no way that Cain was actually all the way in Canada. It's like another part of the Bible story goes is when Cain got to the place that he had been wandering and wandering and wandering for in, that he eventually built a city, and this massive city he named after his first son that he had there, and he named his first son Enoch. I was like, okay, so if Cain was really coming all the way to Canada, all we have to do is look around, and if there's a city called Enoch, then he was here, and if there was no ancient city called Enoch, well, then obviously Cain wasn't here. So I was thinking, oh, okay, I'll just do a little bit of digging, and there's no way there's a city around here called Enoch. And lo and behold, when I started digging, I'm like, turns out the Aztecs had this legend where they had this great hero, and he was wandering and wandering all the time, and I guess he was wandering way up north, and it turned out he went down south and he built a huge city. And it's like when he got there and he named the city that he built, he named it Enoch, or T Enoch Titlan. And it's like, how is that even overlooked by other scholars? I guess like they just assume right off the bat that there's no way Cain could have been in America, and even though the city names match, it had to be someone else or whatever, right? So I started looking into that. Let's see. Here it is. Yeah, so basically what I had was, now that the coin that those light beings gave me, these guys here, turned out to be the sacred tree image. And then that sacred tree image was leading me to finding out the legend that matched Cain's story. And then, yeah, here's this city. When Cain got there, he named it T Enoch Titlan. So basically, all you have to do is take off the T and the Titlan, and it's called Enoch. And I noticed that in South America, they put that T and Titlan on the beginning and end of a lot of words. So I'm pretty sure that that's a pretty identical match. Yeah, and I guess when I was talking about this on the radio, and I even did a couple shows in Montreal about it, and a lot of the questions came down to is like, it seems like a bit of a stretch here that this cactus image with the bird is really related to this offering table that I found on top of the mountain. Like, people are looking at this and looking at that, and they're like, it's still too much of a stretch. Like, there's not enough evidence to link the two. And that's where I started doing this, or decided to do this video tonight, is I came across that evidence just today. I was doing some research on Facebook, and this really cool researcher named Billy Carson, he's involved with the U.S. basketball team, and he's also researching ancient mysteries, and he runs a bunch of different Facebook groups, and he shares images, and he shared one of the image of this Aztec sacred tree. And yeah, what happened was JJ had showed me the picture when she was in Mexico. And the crappy part is when I looked at the bottom of the sacred tree image, is you couldn't see what it was sitting on. I'm like, crap, man, is he sitting on the offering table? I wish it wasn't worn off. And it turned out that Billy Carson, I don't know how he did it, if he made this image himself or he looked it up somewhere and shared it, but I'm trying to get a hold of him. I guess I should try messaging him again. Messaged him a few times, and I know he's really busy with all the stuff he does, so he just hasn't gotten back to me, and it's been over a year now, so yeah, maybe he will one day. But anyways, here's the image. It turned out when he enhanced it, or got the enhanced copy, that you could see that this cactus and bird was coming out of the stomach of a sacrificial person. So it's like this person was sacrificed on an offering table, and he's coming out of it. So I was like, finally. It's like now when I go on these shows, it's like I have the proof now. It's like this is an offering table that this cactus is connected to. It's like, I'm so lucky that I got it now. Yeah, and then it was weird too. It's like if you look in Tenochtitlan, they have a offering table shape, and it matches the ones that were used, or the one up north I found. So I was like, bam, we got another connection with that shape. And then I started to realize that, man, this shape is really common with a lot of the biblical stuff. It's like Noah was near that place in Turkey. What is it called? Göbekli Tepe. And I switched around the image because they always have the image of what it looked like on different angles. And then when I rotated and rotated, I was like, wait a minute, this is an offering table shape. And then I noticed the Great Ziggurat of Ur, like what the Sumerians were using, they were using the same offering table shape for their buildings. And then I found in Egypt, they had the same ones. Anubis was always pouring stuff into it. I'll have to do a whole another show on Anubis. You can see right here, this is an Anubis amulet that my family was in contact with. And it's a long story how that went, but I think that's kind of what helped me find the offering table, maybe, is that this Anubis amulet was influencing me, but can't get too much into that, or this will end up being a really long show. It's like we're almost at an hour now already. Whew, time flies. Huh? And anyways, the Phoenicians, I don't know if any of the viewers have heard of them before, but they're ancient Europeans that were, all the biblical figures were almost Phoenician. People always debate, it's like, oh, who were the people in the Bible? What did they look like? It's like, well, according to DNA studies, the Phoenicians had red hair, and they're the ancient Celtic pagan ancestors. So it's like, no wonders that Jesus kept getting drawn with red hair. It's like everyone was making fun of that, saying that he should have different colored hair, like maybe they should draw him to look like an Asian person or someone from Africa. It's like, hello, if we got the DNA that proves what the Phoenicians look like, and it's like, I don't know, if people want to argue that, they can. It's like, can't convince everyone, right? Some people are set in their ways, and they've already made up their mind before they even look at the evidence for it. But yeah, so that's how I got to pretty much summarize what some of the information I got on the offering tables was. Yeah, and I guess I'll go over a website too. People are when I was sharing this information at a convention, I had this one guy come up to me and he's like, man, there's no way that thing you found on the top of the mountain is an offering table. It's like, there's no way that they used to do offering tables way up north in Canada. So what I did, oh man, did this music stop? Yeah, it did. Eh? It's irritating. I put it on loop and it never looped. Alright, I'll try it again. Oh, random. Click between loop all, loop on. Yeah, maybe that's a loop now. Yeah, sorry about that. Well, I guess it doesn't really matter if I had music playing or not, but maybe on the next episode I'll get that a little bit more accurate. Alright, so anyways, I'll continue on here. Where was I? Oh yeah, I was going to show the website I found with the history about Mount Kemenus, where I found the offering table to help prove to that guy. Well, I'm glad he asked me that. It's like, some people take criticism harshly. It's like, someone criticizes my work with some valid questions. It's like, I actually love that, because then I'm like, hey, now I got something else I should research. So I researched it, and sometimes I guess you do it out of spite, right? It's like, hey, this guy's being a bit of a jackass. It's like, I'm gonna prove that fucker wrong, right? Anyways, I shouldn't swear, sorry about that. Anyways, let's get on to the... yeah, let's see if this is the one. Oh no, that's not it. Oh yeah, I remember. I minimized it and had it all ready for the show. There it is. Alright, so Mount Cauldron. It's basically the French way of saying Mount Kemenus, I think. It's weird, this mountain has like a whole bunch of different names. Mount Kemenus, I guess, is the most current one, but it was named after different things people think. There's a shaman connection where the First Nations people used to use this mountain as their holy spot, and that they believed it was the shape of a cauldron, so that's why some people called it Mount Cauldron. Basically that bag that I was talking about was in the shape of that, the Sumerian bag. So anyways, you scroll down to the history of it, and what do you know? Find out, but before the English explorers were here, that the ancestors of the Anishinaabe, the Ojibwe, and other tribes that I'd never heard of were using this spot. And it says right here, where is it? Maybe I'll just maximize this to make it a little bit bigger. Let's try enhancing the zoom. Make sure everyone can see this. Yeah, so here it says that the mountain legends were, yeah, this was a place of sacrifice. So it's like right here in the description of what the ancient First Nations people were saying is, yeah, this was a place that sacrifices were going on. I was like, well, if that's really true, it's like, wouldn't there be evidence that there's modern people today still using it for sacrifices? And then what do you know, in July 1955, the body of a man, headless, not both hands and right foot, was found on the top of the mountain, not far from the... Holy, near him was a shotgun, huh? Jeez. But anyways, so here's this evidence that this guy was like butchered in some sort of weird sacrifice ritual and was like right next to the offering table. So I'm glad the guy asked me about that. It's like, here buddy, if you're watching the show, you can see, thank you for asking me that question. Here's the evidence that shows that it is a spot of offering tables, or offerings to say the least. Not only of the ancient First Nations people, but even possibly the Freemasons today. Or I'm not sure who else would have this information about this. Maybe it's not the Freemasons. I shouldn't paint them in a bad light, because a lot of Freemasons have helped me with my work, and really all the ones I've met have been super nice. I haven't met a Freemason I didn't like yet. I guess sometimes some people say they're arrogant or whatever, but I haven't really had that kind of issues with them, so I don't want to be saying bad things about people that really have no reason to. Alright, well, I guess that's about everything I wanted to cover on this. So, I guess, yeah, I should summarize. Go back to the slide here. Basically, these light beings gave me the coin, found out the sacred offering tables, and it helped me solve the lost location of Nod, where Cain was banished to. I believe that Cain was banished to North America, was using the offering table, this one here in Canada. Then he went down and built T. Enoch Titlon, and that's why the offering table looks just like the one up north in Canada. And it's funny too how this Aztec hero was a wanderer, Cain was a wanderer. It's like, it's kind of weird to think that more people haven't come to this conclusion yet. It's like, why is it up to me with this coin to figure it out? It's like, to be honest, it seems like a lot of this is like hidden right in plain sight, and I guess maybe given some time, other people are going to start figuring it out too. We're going to try to share this information with as many people as possible, and hopefully with a little bit of luck I can get it going, and maybe some other people will start talking about it, right? Sorry, I just wanted to test out a special effect I had booked for the show. That sort of came out of nowhere. Yeah, so anyone who's been watching this video, I guess I'll check the subscribers. Still got one person watching. It's too bad you didn't type anything. Maybe if you have a question now at the end, I could answer it. But if not, I guess might have to wrap up the show. Oh, yeah, I think that's what that sound means. The show has come to an end. So yeah, if you want to hear more about my work, it's like you can just tune in to 98.5 FM every Tuesday night at 10:30 p.m. I don't get to talk about my work every week because it's a paranormal show and we talk about all sorts of topics like Bigfoot and all that other stuff, but UFOs. But every once in a while they give me a chance to share my research, so I really appreciate them doing that. And yeah, if you're not in the Ontario, Canada region to listen to it on terrestrial radio, they actually have a live stream on the website. I guess in the description of this video, if I keep it posted, if it turned out good enough, then I'll add all the information for that. You can check out my work there. I've got my YouTube channel. I guess you wouldn't be watching this video if you didn't already know about my channel. And if you could subscribe and share the video and start telling some people about this, it would save me a lot of work and I can get back to doing my research. But yeah, I'm going to be going up in a week, and there's actually a Stonehenge site right next to this place too. I don't want to give too many of the secrets away about that, but man, when I get this video done, I'm going to be coming back from this trip with like crap loads of more evidence to prove that this theory is true. And to be honest, I don't even know if it is true. It's like, I really find it hard to believe myself, especially being stuck in the middle of it. It's like how the hell could this possibly be true, right? Like, shouldn't this be happening to some rich guy or a king or something? It's like, I'm pretty much been a janitor my whole life. How the heck did I end up getting involved in this, right? I don't have a university degree. It's like I should have been an archaeologist maybe, but I spent too much of my time partying and instead of being in school. So kids, I definitely recommend stay in school or at least go to the library and do some research. These days you don't even have to pay to get the information you can get from school. Yeah, and do a little bit less partying, a little bit more time working on spelling and stuff and grammar. You won't be stuck in the same boat as me where I'm trying to write blogs and it's really tough, right? But I'm going to keep plugging away at it. If anyone wants to help, it's like, could always use other people to come up on my explorations. It's like most of the trips I end up going alone. I was lucky enough this summer, I had some researchers come from all over the world actually, all the way from Bulgaria to help me do the research. And that was amazing. It's like I wish every time was like that, but I guess come to the realization it's pretty much going to be me doing everything from here on in. But, oh well, to each their own, I guess. There's a lot of other important stuff people got to do, and they can't just come to Canada and help someone working on a mystery like this. But I really appreciate the help I got so far, and hopefully I don't get anyone into trouble about this research. I know a lot of it's really controversial, and even talking about the history of the ancient Aryans, I guess in some countries could get you thrown in jail just because of the associations with what Hitler was doing about it. But I'm not at all supporting what Hitler was saying. It's like a lot of my friends, or even the girl that I really like is part Jewish, so it's like I'm definitely not anti-Jew. It's like I sure hope that other people watching my videos and sharing it aren't either. It's like if you're doing it for hateful reasons, please find other places to do it and don't get me involved with that kind of stuff. But anyways, I guess I shouldn't end the show on such a negative note. Appreciate everyone for checking out this video. Maybe if you want to share it, I really appreciate it, and subscribe. Yes, have a good night everyone. Sorry I was so tired when I was making this video. Maybe if it turned out really crappy, I'll make another copy of it tomorrow after I get a bit more sleep. But anyways, it's been an hour, so I guess I'll wrap it up. Thanks a lot. Take care. Over and out. Seek the adventure, not the Hitler symbol. Like the ancient Aryans used to use. It's not that. Alright, see you everyone. Have a good night. Stay out of trouble. Right? See ya.
The Magi Show was brought to you by the Milky Way.
I fucking hate this galaxy.